Yeah.
So, yeah, on days off. Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that the discipline that you learned at a young age, putting in 8 hours at 12 years old, on the weekends and some of those things, do you think that discipline is ingrained in you now in your sport? Because you're at a different level in what you do.
Yeah, yeah. Like, my mentality when I do stuff is, like, on a completely different plane. It's just, like, people wake up and they're like, oh, man, I got this workout and I got to do this and I don't know. And then they mull over it. I don't go through that phase. Like, I wake up and I'm like, this is what got to get done. Like, it's just a snap. It's not even like a thinking or anything about it. It's just like I wake up and I'm like, this is what's got to get done. And that's it. I go and do it. Yeah. So it's like, there's not even like a transition period of like, oh man, like a, I don't know, like I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think about it. I'm like, oh, that's what got to get done today.
It's part of your DNA now.
Yeah. It's like, I don't even like most people say like, oh, it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work. It's very difficult. This is difficult. I'm like, I don't feel that way at all. I feel like it's very easy. Like I wake up and I'm like, this is just work that needs to get done. And then like my mentality is like, this is easy work. This is not even that hard. And then I go and I do it and I'm like, oh, okay. It's like I said earlier. I'm like, oh, I'm going for an 8-mile run.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
you just have to go do it.
Yeah, I just gotta go do it. It's not even a long run. I don't know, whatever. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like my mentality is already beyond that, where it's just like, oh, it's just what has to get done, so I get it done. Yeah.
This question would probably be more impactful at the end of our interview after we talk about your sport, but I don't want to forget about it. What in your mind? What is difficult? What do you look at and go, that's going to be hard?
I think it's pushing my body to another level. That's what's difficult. Like, it's not the work that goes behind it. It's the mentality to push my body to 100%. Because I know there's like so far in Spartan racing, I've never gone 100%. I could say that with 100% confidence. I've never gone 100% in a race, and I've gotten close, but I haven't done it yet. And that's what I'm always chasing. That 100% effort. So for me, I'm like, in my pursuit for perfection, it's like that is what I'm going for, and that's what I'm always like striving for. But I've never done it yet.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I raced Iceland this last year, and they were interviewing Ryan Atkins, and they said, "Well, you threw up 3 or 4 times out there," and he goes, "Oh, I was actually 5." And I thought about what that actually meant. In my mind, what that meant to me, and I believe this is probably the case, is that he pushed himself beyond his limit to the point where he was throwing up. And he continued to do that throughout that 24-hour race. And when I came into this year, I thought, I'm going to push myself to that level. Like, I want to race as hard as I can so I feel like I'm going to heave.
Yeah.
I mean, I maybe that's a terrible example or a bad way to look at it, but in my mind, that's giving as much as I have for that day.
I think that's what. That's why we kind of look at sports. You know what I mean? It's like, why do we revere sportsmen so much? Like someone, doing a sport. Like, what do we gain from that? It's like, what do we see? And I always say that when you see someone do the sport perfectly, and you see perfection, it just shows you that that's possible in your life. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm not a baseball player, but man, the way that ball cracked off that bat and how the ball just soared, out of the stadium, it was just beautiful. The way Atkins, like the way he pushed himself and how he pushed his body. Like, it's funny because, like, when I saw him do, like, World's Toughest Mudder, I was like, oh, yeah, I saw him finish, and I was like, he's well within himself. I mean, that wasn't his best. I was like, he did good, but I don't know if I'm moved by this.
Yeah.
I'm not really that moved. Now, when I saw Rhea Coble do her race, I was moved because I was like, that was, like, essentially perfection. Like that was the best a woman can possibly do. I can't fathom a woman doing more mileage or more like output than her at that moment. And then I saw Ryan Atkins do, Iceland. I was watching the live feed and everything, and I saw him do his effort in Iceland, and I was like, that moved me. That was perfection, and there's a difference. You could see it. Like there's a performance level. The way if someone's able to take their body to that limit and then push themselves that much, it's poetic.
Yeah,
it's just poetic in that effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing to watch him out on the course. I think I was maybe 14 hours in, and he came up on me, spear throw. Only spear I missed all day, all night. There's only one spear that was useful, and I'm on it, right? So I got nervous because here he comes. I missed. And anyways, but I had a chance to run behind him for a very short period of time because his cadence is so perfect.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
To watch somebody perform at that level for so many hours. If it was hour 1, it'd be different, but this was like hour 14.
Yeah.
And to just watch him pull away in perfect performance is pretty incredible to see somebody at that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm getting a little bit off track on your story here, but so you're in college and you're running and you're working and you're going to school to be an engineer. What came after college for you? Where did your sport evolve? Where did your business life evolve?
After college, I still wanted to run, so I got into marathon running and like longer distance running, and that became it was good for a little bit, but then I started noticing a change in the competition and in the performances, and it became more of like smashing my head into the wall more than it was like a pursuit worth doing.
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, I got so frustrated with it. I was, I had many injuries and I had many setbacks, and there's just a lot of it's really difficult in the marathon world. Because at the time I think on average, my average marathon was like a 2:21 on average. So I would do a 2:19 to 2:24. So I was about a 2:20, let's say 2:22 marathoner. And there was no support. There's nothing. Yeah. There's no support whatsoever for a 2:22 marathoner.
A couple things on that. First of all, my first marathon I did was a 4:15. I was pretty stoked on that. So for all you listeners, a 2:20 is 2 hours and 20 minutes better. What do you mean by support? Because I don't think people understand what that means and the value of that or not having that.
Well, essentially, support would be like a sponsorship or any sponsorships mostly. So it's like
or opportunities, business opportunities.
Yeah. So it's like the only there were some companies that were willing to fly you out and have you perform, be one of the competitors, stuff like that. But most of the companies weren't really that responsive. They'd give you an entry fee, like, oh, okay, you can come and race, but we're not going to pay for your hotel or your flight or anything like that. For running, it's really difficult because there's really not that, all those expenses cost,
they add up.
And it's like if you do a race and it's like, okay, when I first started out, it was like top 10 got paid. And it was like when it was top 10 getting paid, it was worth going out there because it's like, oh, okay, if I get, if anywhere in the top 10, I get a good payday. That's great. Like now I can go to another race or I can do more things. Also with having all your supplements and all your other costs, being a professional athlete is expensive. It is not cheap.
Yeah.
You have to pay for all your supplements. You got to pay for massages, proper workout facilities. Like these things cost money.
Yeah.
So the expenses are very high in creating basically an elite athlete. So when you have a sponsor, it's great because they get to take care of most of those expenses. And then if you have support from the races, they get to take care of the expenses to actually travel to the races.
Yeah.
So once I started to realize, when I first started out, it was great. I mean, the relationships were good. Everything was good. But then all of a sudden I started noticing that people were giving less and less and less. And then it got to a point where it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people that were racing got faster and faster and faster. And then I was like, okay, so now they're not giving money to the top 10. They're only giving money to the top 5. And then now people are getting faster. We're to the point where you have to run, sub 209 to even get paid.
Yeah.
So I started realizing, I was like, okay, this is what's going on. I was like, the people in the races are getting faster synthetically with drugs, with EPO, stuff like that. I can't compete unless I do that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't willing to do that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to step away from this. I'm going to refigure my plan here and figure out how I'm going to stay competitive. My friend introduced me to Spartan racing, and he said, you got to come out here. I mean, he's seen me in the gym. He knew I could do. He's like, you're a strong guy. You can probably do this, no problem. I go out there, my first race, I get my butt kicked. It was horrible. Yeah, if you're a good runner, it doesn't mean you're going to be a good Spartan racer.
Yeah.
It's just, it helps a lot.
Yeah, sure.
So
where was your first race at?
it was in Utah,
Uh-huh.
and it was very painful. It was like 2014 Utah,
Uh-huh.
and I got my butt kicked. Yeah, so I ended up placing like 14th or something like that. And
did you run open or elite?
Elite. I ran elite.
Because you were already an athlete, you figured.
Yeah. I mean, I got there with the mentality like, oh yeah, I'm taking home $500 today. Like, this is gonna be fun. Like, I'm just gonna romp around in the mud. This is great. Get in there. I'm racing Cody Moat. I'm racing who's it? John Yatsko and Glenn Raz. Like, these are Hobie Call. It's like I got a bunch of guys I'm going up against, and I just get torn up.
Yeah.
Just get torn up. Yeah.
Because we're on that subject now, did you make all the obstacles? Do you remember which ones you missed? What was hard?
I failed the traverse wall. I failed the Hercoist. I failed the spear throw, and I failed the last rope climb, which was another rope climb. Like, they had the standard rope climb, and then they had another rope climb that was like with it was like climbing rope or something. It was a really thin rope.
Yeah.
And I grabbed it, and my hands just kept slipping out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck is going on? So I failed that. So I ended up, so a lot of burpees.
Got your butt kicked.
Yeah, I got my butt kicked.
So obviously you got the fever after doing that.
No, I did not.
No.
No. It was a bad fever. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of looked at it, and I was like, oh, I'm not good at this. This is horrible. I can't do this. And then my friend actually did another race, and I beat him in that race, and he was like, oh, man, like, that was horrible. And I was like, yeah, let's not do that again. And then he came back, and he was like, I'm going to finish my trifecta. I want to do this trifecta thing. And I was like, okay, like, go for it. And the next race he did, it was in Sacramento. Again, a lot of big names showed up, and they came to the race, and he ended up placing in the top 10, and his brother as well. And I was like, wow, you guys are like right behind Matt Novakovic and all the big names. They were right behind him. And you guys lost by like 10 seconds. And I thought about it, and I was like, if I would have been in that race, I would have beat him. I would have been right in the mix of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I kind of took notice. And then they did their super, and then they did the sprint. And then, again, they placed in the top 10. And I'm like, okay, I got to give this thing one more shot. And then I did my race. I did another race. I did the super in Temecula. And then what I did was I said, I'm all in this year. No matter what, I don't care. I paid for the season pass. And I said, I'm going to make it worth it. So I'm going to pick out all these races, and I'm going to do them. And bam, first race I did, top 5. Next race I did, podium. And then I started going from there. And I was like, okay, this is it.
I got this.
I got this. It's not that bad. I started working on my upper body. My first race I weighed like 135. So I was too light. Way too light. Now I'm weighing.
That's why you failed the Hercoist.
That's why I failed the Hercoist. Yeah. So now I'm at 150, and this is like my playing weight. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
So you start racing Spartan races. Are you working during this period or?
Yeah. I'm working at. I work for the Department of Defense, and I do industrial engineering for them. Yeah. So.
You say that very secretively.
Yeah. I try not to talk about what I do in detail.
Literally because of the nature of the job?
Because of the nature